All right, for the next 40 minutes or so, then I'm getting into the open announcement. They now have confirmed all of our reverse engineered reports on the different pieces we had from Cass Sunstein, the FCC diversity czar. Now the head of the FCC and others have said they are going to censor the internet, talk radio, internet radio, TV. They're very bold. We've had the head of one of the key committees, Senator Jay Rockefeller, say we'd be better off without the internet, that he, quote, wants to shut down Fox News and MSNBC if they can knock off the big ones who've been in these political fights and you know, bring this kind of East German, you know, just dry Soviet-style news. They're going to do it. That is coming up. This is a big issue. Then we're getting into WikiLeaks and the newest developments with Wayne Madsen popping in, and then Max Kaiser on silver going above $30. They're trying to drive it down right now, but they're not successful. I mean, you watch the graph. In the last 10 years, silver and gold are going straight up. But if you zoom in on the graph, month to month, week to week, it might dip a little, but then it always races back up even more because of dollar devaluation globally. So Kaiser's popping in the last 15 minutes of the show or so today to talk about that as well. Very important information on that front. In the last year and a half, I've gotten a lot of calls saying, you've got to read They Own It All, Including You, by Means of Toxic Currency by Ron McDonald and Robert Rowan, MD. And, you know, I know a lot about the Federal Reserve. I've been studying for 17 years, and I think I don't need to read another book. But I finally did, and I said, well, we got to carry this. It's easy to understand. It gets in-depth into a lot of things that I was aware of, but the general public isn't, or your friends or family may not be. But it's really tied together well. And so I hope people will get it. It's They Own It All, Including You, by Means of Toxic Currency. And it's available at Infowars.com, discounted, by the way. And he has the great quote, "I care not what puppet is placed in the throne of England to rule the empire. The man that controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the money supply." That was Baron Nathan Mayer Rothschild of the Rothschild International Banking Cartel. And so to break down the book that I hope everybody gets, by the way, we got 800 of Charlotte Iserby's book. It's now out of print. And we sold out of them in less than a day. She said she had 100 or so more she's going to mail to us now. We'll have those available next week, and then that's it. It's out of print. So I'm sorry that we've had to remove that from the shopping cart. And thank you for the support, though. And you got a great book to wake people up now with The Deliberate Numbing Down. It was selling everywhere else for $100, $200 because it's out of print. We sold it at retail, so it sold out pretty quick. But we'll have some signed copies next week to offer for folks. And again, thank you for supporting us all at Infowars.com on the online video bookstore. And don't forget PrisonPlanet.tv, the armory of resistance. The live video simulcast, the radio show, the archive, the higher quality audio podcast, my book, Paul Watson's book, both out of print. Dozens of new interviews, including an interview with the head of Skywatch on chemtrails, Dr. Blaylock. We got Dr. Conant coming up in the next few days, Russell Means. Just every week we're adding 3-4 exclusive interviews where we fly around the country and interview people. We're flying to interview Charlotte Iserby next week. I mean, we're really turning up the heat at PrisonPlanet.tv. Download them. Burn them to disk. Every subject you can imagine. Give them to people. Give a PrisonPlanet.tv membership. They're $5.95 a month, but every December for Christmas, for the holiday, you can get 5.3 months free. You buy a year, you pay for 6.7 months, you get 5.3 months free. So you get a yearly membership and get it a lot lower than $5.95 a month. Or you can do the trial, $5.95 a month, and that's how we're funding the operation. I want to commend all of you that are members, but use the site. Share your username and passcode with those, you know, that you trust. I wouldn't use a username or passcode that, you know, gets into anything else of yours, but, you know, we allow 6 people with the same username and passcode. You buy one membership, you basically get 6. 6 people can be simultaneously logged in under the same username and passcode. But again, as I've always told you, so we let folks share it with a limited number of people. It'd be unlimited, but we can't afford the bandwidth. Use a username and passcode that is only for PrisonPlanet.tv if you're going to share it. Send it as an e-card to friends and family. Hey, here's a member site with all these films and books. Here it is. So give yourself a gift and give some of your family the gift of a PrisonPlanet.tv membership. Or if you want to support us, buy a whole bunch of memberships and create easy, you know, username and passcodes and then give that to friends and family and say, here's your e-card or here's your physical card, here's your prisonplanet.tv membership, please use it. And a lot of folks will use it, but regardless, you'll be supporting our operation at prisonplanet.tv. And who can deny we're at the tip of the spear and having a huge effect? Now, no doubt I'll have him back up again because I'm a fan of the book. I haven't actually finished the whole thing, but I've read about 80% of it. It goes into John D. Rockefeller, the whole system. But in this abbreviated transmission, Ron Mcdonald, break down what the book covers and what you've discovered.
Well, probably the most important thing about the book is understanding the real defining of the term income. And what I've discovered is through a case that I had researched, I noted, and the case is $3,976.62 in currency and one Ford 1964 station wagon. In that case, this property was seized on the land in a Midwestern state. And what happened there is that the Internal Revenue Service got involved with that. And I looked for the authority of how they did that on the land. The seizure usually is out at sea. And this is a quote from the case. And it says, although presumably for the purpose of obtaining jurisdiction, action for forfeiture under Internal Revenue laws is commenced as proceeding in admiralty. After jurisdiction is obtained, proceeding takes on character of civil action at law, and at least at such stage of proceeding, rules of civil procedure control.
Well, let me stop you for a moment, Ron, because your phone's okay, but it's a little low, so try to speak right in the receiver. But I've seen this in cases where the feds are taking people's land for literally no reason or an adverse possession. They will declare admiralty, and they will talk about it being maritime jurisdiction or literally a quasi-private agency engaged in letter of marque, and you write your checks out to the private Federal Reserve. So that's where you're going with this, is that we do have this maritime criminal rogue group. Please continue.
Oh, absolutely. And the rules of civil procedure I looked up, and actually it fell under Rule C of the Admiralty Rules of Court. And under that rule it says for mere maritime hypothecation. Well, that's a very big...
yeah, now that your level's perfect, start over. Get into what you were reading with the Admiralty. Go ahead.
Okay. And, from the quote from that seizure or forfeiture on the land, I quote, although presumably for the purposes of obtaining jurisdiction, action for forfeiture under Internal Revenue laws is commenced as proceeding in admiralty. After jurisdiction is obtained, proceeding takes on character of civil action at law. And at least at such stage of proceedings, rules of civil procedure control. Well, I researched the rules of civil procedure, but it led me to the actual rule, Rule C of the Admiralty Rules. And under that rule, it says for mere maritime hypothecation. Well, mere maritime hypothecation is a lien or the creditor's interest in something. This case talked about currency and a Ford station wagon. So understanding how they could seize both the currency and Ford station wagon, they did it because there were liens on there. I'm going to break down what actual money is and currency is. The gold coin that was once the lawful coin of the realm here in America fell under the Mint Act of 1792. In that gold coin were an infinite number of qualities, inclusive of title, rights, and interest. When you use that gold coin to buy something, to purchase something, the title, rights, and interest transferred from the gold coin into the very thing you purchased. So now you had title, rights, and interest in that thing, whether it was a table or a house or whatever. However, with the Federal Reserve note, you have a lien in there. That's that mere maritime hypothecation.
And that's why the government holds the title to your car. Everything is basically like rented or through a feudal serf system.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and with that lien in the Federal Reserve note, it transfers also because that's the quality and nature of currency, whether it's gold coin or whether it's Federal Reserve notes. And that lien transfers into the very thing, so when you buy a table for $10 Federal Reserve note, a lien of 100% owned by the creditor travels right into that table. And we understand this to be true because before 1933, in order for the state to seize anything from you, it had to go through the courts. And the courts were courts of law. Today, if you leave your car on the side or they arrest you, they seize it immediately. There's no longer are in touch with the common law courts. So we've lost that aspect of our society, of our liberty. In 1933, this actually happened, and I'm going to disregard everything that happened up to 1933, but it started at the commencement of the country. But in 1933, the President of the United States was given complete, unlimited control over economics in this country. That meant he had the right to control every aspect of the country's economy. And this was because they determined that competition was a scourge on society. That meant that to build a better mousetrap, cheaper mousetrap, was no longer a good thing for the people.
Yeah, they want planned economies which vertically integrate all power to the elite's hands.
Absolutely. And you understand one thing about building a better mousetrap, whether it's a better car, whether it's better whatever, is that it actually increases the value of money in your pocket.
Yeah, the overall wealth of a nation, that's why then your money, if it's fiat, has value because it's all staked on the credit and faith. That's the system they moved us to, but now they've debased the nation itself because they're waging war against any independent wealth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So we were told that to compete against each other, to build better things, to increase the money value in our pocket was basically a evil on our society. So the president was given unlimited power, and you have to question, well, his office is enumerated with power, so where did he get this extra power? This is the first breach of not the first, but it is a breach of the federal Constitution, because that power had to come from the judicial and from the Congress.
All right, Ron McDonald, co-author of They Own It All, Including You, by Means of Toxic Currency. He ties it all together. This is beyond just fractional reserve banking. This is their system of fraud, the net they've caught us in, available at Infowars.com. Stay with us. Okay, going back to Ron McDonald, the author of the book that other books have covered similar things but not tied it all together. It's really a masterpiece. They Own It All, Including You, available at Infowars.com. It makes a great Christmas gift for your friends and family as well, to wake them up. Every mind we unlock is so valuable to the overall fight for liberty. You were getting up to the president and this false monetary system. Please continue.
In 1933 was a crucial point in the history of America because both the wealth and the law of the American people was stolen from them. And at that point, the president became a mini-government. The Congress gave the president the ability to legislate, to determine, and enforce the laws of economic control. And that meant he could, for example, he could license everyone, and that's what he did under the National Industrial Recovery Act.
And that's why they set up state police that were federally chartered and began the licensing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And licensing comes basically after, remember the aristocrats, and you probably saw it in Rob Roy and that?
Yeah, I mean, it's feudalism. You've got to have a license is the authorization to do something that's illegal, so traveling is illegal in America.
Right, and it's even more than that. It's the aristocrat being able to take your bride before you had her. That's what a licensure is. It's the ability of a sovereign.
Because he owned you like deer on his property, and prima noctu was practice.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So under that, we lost our law because what happened is administrative law came in. Under the National Industrial Recovery Act, that meant thousands of codes were adopted throughout the states, and that meant you had to conform to these codes. And the president then had the ability to regulate how many doctors would be licensed a year, how many pieces of china would be made, how they would be made, every facet of our society.
And now the global licensure is the Agenda 21.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And then also with the stealing of the wealth of the American people, and I'll give you an example. In 1933, prior to the fiat currency, if you bought your house for $10,000, you had the title rights and interest in that house. But the very next day after the fiat money was enacted, now you had $10,000 of federal lien on. It was a swooping down of that valuation.
They turned wealth into debt with a sleight of hand.
Yes, without one shot being fired. But here's the issue on the income. What is income? When you think about it, let me ask you, with your state income tax and your federal income tax, I'm going to describe them differently.